Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. We are back with the live streams. It is Tuesday evening. I hope you all are doing well. Hope you all have had a fantastic day and a fantastic first couple of days to your week. We are here to talk about the latest Everton transfer news and rumours. Everton are apparently close to completing a move for Leeds United winger Wilfried Gnonto. Ashley Young looks certain to join the football club after having his medical today. Alan Myers yesterday reporting that he will join up with the rest of the Everton squad in Switzerland ahead of Friday's friendly. We're also going to get into some talk about former Everton defender Conor Coady, who has had some rather positive words to say about his time at Everton Football Club, and we'll talk about anything in between that as well. But before we do get into any of this, I want to bring your attention to a website called Vintage Football Shirts. Now, I've partnered up with this website, Vintage Football Shirts, to basically provide a little bit of a link, an affiliation link that would help the channel out if you were to go there and take a little look and maybe think about purchasing one of these classic Everton shirts. I'll put the link in the description down below so you can all go there and have a little look if you feel like, and we'll have a look at the website in just a second. Let me just pop the link in there. So let's have a little look at Vintage Football Shirts. As you can see, a number of classic Everton shirts and other bits of sort of items as well. You can see there's a couple of training tops there, training shorts, various different options to sort of click for the years or for the types of shirts: home, away, third kit, goalkeeper kit, match shirts, training gear, of course. Some of them are quite pricey for definitely some of the classic ones. As you can see there, the 1982-83 shirt there, which is a little bit pricey, but obviously is a classic and an item that you probably won't see much on the market anywhere else. You can even go to sort of a later shirt. There's Roberto Martinez's first season for anybody that wants to relive that one, all the way up until sort of the most recent seasons, where you may have seen a shirt from one of the last few seasons that you liked but unfortunately couldn't purchase. They have them available as well. Obviously some of the early Moyes shirts as well, some of them with names on the back. You can see Lescott and Johnson there. Obviously, as I said, the FA Cup final third kit, I believe that was, third shirt for the season we reached the FA Cup final. I remember I had that one with Marouane Fellaini on the back. Loved that goalkeeper shirt as well back when I was growing up. So a whole plethora of Everton shirts. They also have other shirts for other football clubs if you like collect them. Classic football shirts that aren't particularly Everton. You can go to any other Premier League club there. There's obviously other UK clubs as well, various different international clubs as well on that website. So do go and check it out. It is the link on the first line of the description. And as I said there, big thanks to Vintage Football Shirts for partnering up with us. And hopefully we'll be able to work together a lot in the future. But as I said, a lot of good classic shirts there, not only for Everton, but also for some other clubs as well, because I know people like to buy sort of classic football shirts, maybe not necessarily Everton ones, but I know a lot of people like to buy classic AC Milan shirts or Barcelona shirts, etc, whether it be to play football in or just knock about in. There is a lot of options there, so go and check out the top line of the description. As I said, a lot of different Everton stuff as well. I'm sure if you've been on the channel for a long time, you will have known that my dad has got an Everton home office. It's actually the pinned video on the channel of me doing a little bit of a tour of it. It's basically just my dad's work from home office, but it is kitted out completely in Everton memorabilia, shirts, signed football, signed everything. Basically, I need to do an updated tour actually, because it's changed quite a lot since that video was uploaded. But as I said, if you're somebody that collects memorabilia, collects old shirts and old bits of kit, then that is definitely the website to check out. So go and check it out, first line of the description. And if you do want to buy anything from there, please do use that link, because it would help the channel out massively. Anyway, let's get straight into the subject of today's live stream then. Transfer news, as is the subject of pretty much every video we've done over the last few weeks or so. We are in that period of the year now where transfer news is rampant. Now, whether or not any of it has any substance or any of it has any truth to it, we will wait and see in the near future, but there is certainly rumours and reports to discuss, and the one that has piqued my interest over the last sort of 24 hours or so is regarding Leeds United winger Wilfried Gnonto. Now, according to Michelle Chris Citiello, I apologise if I've butchered that name, who's the CEO of Sport Italia, they have reported that Everton are close to completing a deal for Leeds United forward Wilfried Gnonto. The deal is worth €22 million. Now, again, I've spoken about this before on the channel in regards to Wilfried Gnonto. I understand that this is now a little bit more exciting than what it was 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were speaking about Gnonto, and it was barely just sort of interest at that point, and all of the rumours that we were reading were just stating that Everton were interested in the player, and Everton liked the player, and Everton could potentially make a move for the player. We've now had a report that suggests Everton are close to completing, and seems to suggest that Everton in the final stages of a move for the Leeds United winger. Again, I'll repeat myself, but just for anybody that's new to the channel and anybody that hasn't watched one of these videos before, I will never sit here and talk about the reliability of a certain source. Obviously, there are certain sources that you pretty much know if they are reporting something that it's quite tip-top. People like the Athletic, people like Fabrizio Romano, people like David Ornstein, Alan Myers, who's quite close to the football club as well. Usually, if they're putting anything out there, Paul Joyce is another one, then usually it's got an element of truth behind it. None of them have reported this situation whatsoever. However, from what I'm led to believe, this source that it has reported this is one that can be seen as quite reliable as well. And that's not me saying this is definitely going to happen and it's on the cards. I'm just saying that it's a little bit more of a reliable source than just a random newspaper printing nonsense to try and get our attention. Now, having said that, £22 million for Wilfried Gnonto is probably around about what he would cost to get him out of Leeds United. Leeds are believing in a position at the moment where they're needing to gather transfer funds. They're needing to sort of make a little bit of money in order to be able to use that money to go and improve their squad. Obviously, they'll be competing with teams like Leicester City to get out of the Championship this season, and Leicester have already sold James Maddison, about to sell Harvey Barnes and a couple of other players that will leave Leicester that will give them a bit bigger of a transfer budget. So, yeah, there seems to be a feeling around Leeds United that they do need to sell, somebody in order to regain a little bit of money back. They probably would have wanted more for Wilfried Gnonto, given he is, a young lad, breakthrough season last season, done well, worked hard, scored a couple of good goals, and is definitely somebody with an awful lot of potential and a massive future ahead of him. However, maybe they would be willing to settle for a figure around about £22 million, given that they probably would want a little bit more, but they'd probably be unlikely to get it. Now, this leads us to the big question, which is, well, where have Everton got £22 million from? We sat here last week and spoke about Issy Samuel-Smith moving to Chelsea for £4 million, and I said, listen, Everton are in a position at the moment where we need as much money as we possibly can, and if we can sell a young lad who's never played a game of senior football before for £4 million, that isn't too bad of a deal. Fast forward, a week later, and all of a sudden we're talking about spending £22 million on a player who, at this moment, is pure potential. He hasn't done anything of note in the Premier League to warrant that price tag. And what I mean is, yes, he had a breakthrough season last season. He scored a couple of goals. He done relatively well. But you would be buying him for what he could be in a year's time, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time. And he is massively highly rated. By the way, I believe he was actually used in the promo video for Italy launching their new kit. And that is huge for somebody of his age. As we've mentioned, he's only young. And for him to be used in his international setups kit launch just shows quite exactly what he's thought of. 19 years of age and very clearly highly rated, not only in this country, but obviously in Italy as well. So he's definitely somebody that I would be interested in. He's definitely somebody that sort of fits the mould of the right type of player Everton should be looking to attract and should be looking to bring into the football club. Now, in an ideal world, Everton wouldn't be in such a difficult position financially, and bringing in somebody like Wilfried Gnonto would be a great move. Because we wouldn't really be relying on him too much to be fantastic next season, but he would be somebody that we could work with, somebody that we could grow, and somebody that has unlimited amounts of potential to be a fantastic footballer. We're not really in that luxury position. If we're signing Wilfried Gnonto for £22 million, we really need them to come in and have an impact instantly. Now, I've seen a couple of Leeds United players, a couple of Leeds United fans and a couple of other fans on social media saying, well, how does this move make sense for Gnonto? Why would he want to go to Everton? Why wouldn't he just stay at Leeds? Firstly, Leeds are in the Championship and Everton aren't. So that's a big decision maker, isn't it? He will be playing Premier League football if he moves to Everton this season. Secondly, I said this on one of the last videos, and I'll say it again. Everton at the moment, whilst it might be difficult for us to accept as fans, and whilst it might be frustrating, and whilst it might be annoying, and whilst it might be, incredibly frustrating for us to sit here and accept as a fan base, Everton need to understand what we are as a football club, and we as fans need to understand what we are and where we are as a football club, and where we are at the moment as a football club that should be trying to attract good, young, up-and-coming players on the basis that you come here, you do well for 2 or 3 seasons, and then you will get a move to a top 6, top 7 football club, whatever you want to call it. And I almost felt like that's what we did last year with Amadou Onana. And we've done this before over the years, by the way. We've done this with David Moyes, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with being that stepping stone club. The reality of the situation is, unless you have grown up 5 or 10 minutes away from Goodison like myself, and you were born into an Everton family and your life is Everton and you've supported Everton all your life, the likelihood of any professional footballer that hasn't been born into that wanting Everton to be their final destination at this moment in the position that Everton are in is very unlikely. Very, very unlikely. So we have to accept that players will be coming to Everton Football Club on the basis that if they do well, that they will be able to move on to maybe a club playing in the Champions League, maybe a club challenging for trophies, whatever it may be, because that isn't Everton at the moment. And there's nothing wrong with that, because if Wilfried Gnonto comes to Everton on the acceptance that he's coming to a Premier League club, so he's playing in the Premier League, whereas he'd be playing in the Championship if he stayed at Leeds, and if he does well for a couple of seasons, he may go on to, to move on to, I don't know, Tottenham or Chelsea, or we've seen players move from Everton to Man City before, and therefore he'll be playing for one of the top clubs in the country. If Wilfried Gnonto is to come to Everton and then in 2 or 3 years move on to something bigger, then it will have shown that he has done well at Everton. And in turn, it will have shown that Everton had done well. So, bringing in players and attracting players on the basis of that, come to us, you'll play in the Premier League, you'll play consistently, near enough every week, you'll be loved by the fans, you'll have that deep connection and that deep, emotional relationship with the fans. And then if you do well for a couple of seasons, you'll be attracting interest of some of the top clubs in the league, and you'll have your pick to go there. Because let's be honest, that's how it works. Even though Everton haven't been competitive in the last 5 or 6 years, Richarlison come, he done well, he worked hard, he created that relationship, and he's gone on to a football club who commercially are one of the best in the country. Okay, trophy-wise and history-wise, they're not sort of up there with your Man City or your Man United, but, Tottenham, in terms of a commercial powerhouse, are huge. And that's happened to Richarlison whilst he's playing in an Everton team that aren't up to particularly much and aren't really fighting for much. So the evidence is there that if you are a footballer and you come to Everton and you do well, then you will move on. You can move on to better things. But I don't mind that, because if you come to Everton and you do well, then Everton will have done well. And therefore, it's a fair transaction. We get something, they get something. The Blues says it perfectly in the comments. He says, players will sign for us for two reasons, a stepping stone or they're joining for the payday. I much prefer the former because nobody is joining Everton to win things. That's the reality of the situation. As horrible as it might be, as upsetting as it might be, as frustrating as it might be, that's the reality of the situation that we're in. So if we can attract Wilfried Gnonto to Everton by saying, listen, come here, lad, have a good couple of seasons. You'll work with some good experienced Premier League players. You'll be able to grow. You'll be loved by the fans. You'll have that relationship, and then if you do well in a couple of seasons, you can move on to a club who might be challenging. That is a massive incentive for the player. Massive incentive for the player. Now, my question and worry is, if Everton are spending £22 million on a player that is effectively all potential at this moment, are we going to be able to spend even more money on other areas of the pitch that we need to improve on, i.e. a striker? Because we still need a striker. Wilfried Gnonto isn't a striker. A creative midfielder, a right winger, which is huge. Gnonto isn't a right winger, so a right winger, maybe a centre-back, which for me we definitely need as well. Although I've got a feeling that the club are going to push Godfrey this season, and the manager's going to want Godfrey to be that starting centre-back, because we're seeing a lot of Ben Godfrey media at the moment, and that might just be a coincidence because he's back from injury, but I don't know. I don't know whether Everton are going to try and form him with James Tarkowski as the centre-back partnership. But that's my question and worry is this the whole transfer budget going on one player that is purely potential at the moment? Now, that's not me saying I don't want him, by the way, because we could structure this deal brilliantly. We could pay £4 million over 5 seasons, or £5 million over 4 seasons, whatever it may be, and then we've got other money to spend in other areas. And that wouldn't be too bad. We're getting a young lad in who's clearly got talent, clearly got potential, and is exciting. But I said it yesterday when we spoke about Ashley Young, and we're going to speak a little bit more about Ashley Young in a moment. If we as a fan base are wanting Everton to sign 5 or 6 players this summer, which we do, of course we do. We want Everton to sign as many players as possible, but 5 or 6 you'd probably think would be the number that Everton would bring in to improve, in most of the positions we need to improve in. We have to understand and appreciate that a number of those players are going to be of the ilk of Ashley Young. And by that, what I mean is probably not very inspiring, probably not very exciting, a little bit older, Premier League experience maybe, but generally not players that you're jumping out of your seat and jumping around your house for. However, I do expect Everton to sign 1, maybe 2 of those types of players that are exciting and that do pique your interest, and maybe Wilfried Gnonto is one of those players. Would I have him at the football club? I absolutely would have him at the football club, 110%. Is it a risk? Of course it is, because it's £22 million on a kid that has only just had his breakthrough season, and whilst he's very highly thought of and very highly rated, and whilst his first season was okay, that's no guarantee that that will happen again. That's no guarantee that will happen again. However, he could go on and have a better season next season, playing in a team that he will be needed and he will hold a lot of responsibility in. Who knows? It's interesting to see that Everton are close to completing a move, according to this rumour. Whether or not this is true, we'll wait and see. On that basis, what I would say is, let's cast our minds back to when Everton were close to completing a deal for Luis Diaz, and we're 1 moment away from that being announced, and it never happened. And I'm not saying that we weren't, I'm just saying it never happened. Let's cast our minds back to when Everton were close to completing a deal for Mohamed Kudus, and Ajax wouldn't let him go. It never happened. Again, deals that looked absolutely set to happen didn't happen. So until Wilfried Gnonto was at Finch Farm with an Everton kit on holding the scarf, that's when I'll say, okay, yeah, maybe this is happening. But at this moment, even though it's the report says close to completing a move, even though it talks about a figure, even though again he's obviously more exciting than Ashley Young is, I still wouldn't be getting my hopes up too much, because we've seen this before. Again, it's a risk, and as I said, if Everton flat out paying £22 million for Wilfried Gnonto, and it isn't a deal that is being done structurally, and it isn't something that Everton are paying over a number of years, then I'm sorry, but I just think Everton could use that money more wisely in other positions. I think there's probably a striker out there that you could spend £22 million on that is guaranteed to come in and make a bigger impact than what Wilfried Gnonto may or may not. However, again, we don't know those details, and he's certainly one for the future, and he certainly fits the mould of the type of player Everton should be going for, and the type of player we want to see signed for Everton Football Club. But, as I've said before, and I will say it again, Wilfried Gnonto might be the type of player we want to see sign for Everton Football Club, and Ashley Young might be the type of player we don't want to sign, aka a 38-year-old left-back who's coming towards the end of his career versus an 18, 19-year-old winger who looks exciting and promising. However, there's an argument to be had that we need Ashley Young more than we need Wilfried Gnonto, because we know Ashley Young is going to come in, he's going to do a job, he probably gets in our first team, which, as I said yesterday, is quite embarrassing. He's versatile, he can play in multiple different positions, and he's experienced. So, and that's not me saying he's a better signing than Gnonto, by the way, or I don't want Gnonto. That's just me saying the position Everton are in currently, we need players that are going to come in and make an impact now, and be ready to step up to that challenge now. We're not really a club in a position to bring a player in on the basis that in 3 seasons he'll be great, but at the moment he's just going to be all right. We need somebody, especially if we're paying that money for the financial position that we're in, we need somebody that we know is going to come in and make an impact, and Gnonto may do. Again, I'm not just sitting here saying he's young, so he's not going to come in and make an instant impact. He might do. And I'm sure the club have got faith that he will do. And we've seen players come into the football club at a young age before for quite big money and impress. Richarlison being the example of that. So, yeah, we'll wait and see. Do I believe this? I'm not so sure. As I said, I'm at this point now with transfer rumours where I believe them when the player is there, signed, and it's all done and dusted. But, yeah, he's certainly somebody that I think is the right type of profile. Is 22 million quid a lot of money? Yes, it is a lot of money. However, again, if he does well for 2 or 3 seasons, then A, that will improve Everton, and B, we will make the money on him when we sell him. So, yeah, again, the right type of move for the right type of player. Worries me a little bit the price tag, considering we need sort of instant quality to come in. But, again, maybe we need to sign 2 or 3 sort of cheap, oldish players for little to nothing or for free. If we sign Young, Gnonto and Rodrigo, are we happy with that? And I'm not saying that's all we sign, but let's say this time in 2 weeks we've signed those 3 players. Probably look at that and go, do you know what? That's not too bad. It's not too bad. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how this one progresses, obviously, over the coming days and weeks. But, as I said, strong rumours that Everton are close to completing a move for the player. The Ashley Young saga heated up an awful lot last night after we uploaded our video. Fabrizio Romano stated that Ashley Young is set to join Everton on a short-term deal. Here we go. Medical has been booked and Young has accepted the conditions and joins as a free agent. Alan Myers also reported last night that Ashley Young's medical was taking place today, and upon passing the medical, he will fly out to Switzerland with the squad ahead of Friday's friendly, of course. So it seems at this point that we are just an announcement away from Ashley Young being an Everton player. I gave my thoughts on it yesterday. Yes, it isn't particularly inspiring. Yes, it isn't particularly exciting. Yes, it isn't something that I'm jumping around and screaming and shouting and massively excited about. However, he's experienced, he's versatile, he can play in multiple different positions, his injury record is relatively good for his age. He done well at Villa last season. There's a lot of Villa fans at the moment on social media saying they didn't want him to leave, and he was one of their better players last season, etc, etc. His wage will probably be minimal, and ultimately he comes in to be a member of a squad to provide experience, to provide leadership, and whether we like it or not, and a lot of people don't like it, but whether we like it or not, these are the types of deals that Everton will be doing this summer, and B, he fits in. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, it's a disgrace we're going after 38-year-old Ashley Young, this, that and the other. The way I look at it is Everton financially are in a perilous position at the moment, seemingly. He is experienced, he's versatile, can play in multiple different positions. There's an argument that he's a better left-back than our current left-back, which is embarrassing in itself considering his age, but there is a strong argument for that. And if this allows Everton to do deals like Wilfried Gnonto and other players we're being linked with that people are being excited about, then what's the issue with it? Would we rather go out and spend another 20 million on a left-back that may end up being the same level as what Vitaly Mykolenko was, or bring in an experienced one for next to nothing? All right, he might be old and it mightn't be particularly exciting or exciting. Bring him in and be able to spend that money elsewhere in other areas. Or another question along the same lines is, would you rather Everton spend £22 million on a left-back and then go and bring in a 38-year-old winger? I know what I'd rather. And as I said, I understand it, and I get it, and I get Everton at a football club that shouldn't be in a position where we're having to rely on bringing in a 38-year-old, but what's more embarrassing? The fact that we're having to do that, or the fact that that 38-year-old left-back probably gets in Everton's starting 11. You know, again, it's the position that we're in, it's the situation that we're in, and if Ashley Young can come in and do a decent job for the season, provide some experience, provide some cover, provide, some as I said, some good versatility amongst the squad, then I don't see a problem with it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and do the announcement video and be like that with the party poppers. Oh my God, we've signed Ashley Young. He's amazing. We're going to win the league next season. But again, like I said yesterday, these are the types of players that Everton will be looked to signing this summer. Experienced players that are coming in for either nothing or next to nothing, that ultimately, whether we like it or not, improve this squad. And yes, we might get one or two exciting names like a Gnonto, like Onana last season, but the reality is a lot of our business is going to be done in this type of area. And if he was a 38-year-old left-back who you looked at and thought, he's awful, he's not played at the top level for years, he's not got his legs anymore, he's not great defensively, then I'd understand it a little bit more. But Ashley Young was a near enough a permanent fixture in an Aston Villa team that finished in a European position last season. And if you speak to Aston Villa fans at the moment, a lot of them are quite upset that he's been allowed to leave the football club. A lot of them would have wanted him to stay for another season. He played a lot of football in the Premier League last season and done well in those games. Versatile, left back, right back, played winger, of course, experienced. I haven't really got a big problem with it. I get it's uninspiring, and I get it's not the type of signing you want Everton to be making in an ideal world, but we don't live in an ideal world. And we've known that for a long, long, long time. So let's not pretend we've thought we do, and all of a sudden this has come out of nowhere. We don't live in an ideal world. And if he can come in, he can do a job for us for a year, then I've got no issue with it. I don't think many Evertonians had an issue with Andros Townsend. Come in for us, bit uninspired, and remember when he signed, I was thinking, yeah, whatever, but come in, done a job, scored some important goals, done well, and left after a couple of seasons, and we all said, good luck for the future, cheers. Yeah, again, that deal is likely to be announced over the next 24 hours or so. Hopefully Everton get it announced ASAP, because there's no reason for them to not get it announced ASAP. If he completes his medical today, make a graphic and get it up that he signed a 1-year deal and he'll join up with the squad. And then hopefully we get to see him in action on Friday afternoon. But yeah, again, I understand it and I get that it's not particularly inspiring. I get all of that, but it is what it is, and it is where we are as a football club. And you know, if that means that we have to bring in experienced players that do well for the season, then that is what it is. Some news that has just come in over the last 10 minutes or so, according to John Percy at the Telegraph. Championship side Southampton have held talks with Everton over a deal for Mason Holgate. Again, I think the club stance on Mason Holgate should be fairly simple. He can leave on a permanent deal or a loan with a obligation to buy. Anything other than that, I don't see the point in it. I don't see the point in him leaving on on a loan, and I don't see a point in him leaving on a loan with a view to a buy, but no obligation. What's the point? What's the point? He may as well just stay here and be part of our squad. Would I sell him? Absolutely. I'd sell him tomorrow if it's a permanent deal, or if it's an obligation for the permanent deal. But I don't see the point in letting him leave on loan for us to then need to go and replace him and not bring any money in for him. So, yeah. And then according to Liverpool Echo, Everton are still interested in Villarreal forward Arnaut Danjuma. The former Tottenham loanee is open to a move to Everton. That's ironic, isn't it? Open to a move to Everton. He was open to a move to Everton in January as well until he ran away. Yeah, for me, again, I am not. Again, I'm not particularly behind this. Does Danjuma improve Everton? Yes, probably. And am I against it because of what he did in January? No, not really, because that's football, and those types of things happen in football. I just think there's probably better out there. However, if you can get him on loan, like we were meant to do in January, and he comes in for the season, then they've not got anything really to lose. And would I have him in that situation where he comes in on loan? Yeah, I would. He obviously didn't get many opportunities at Tottenham, and he didn't particularly impress when he played. But again, we aren't really in a position to take a model high ground of going, well, you said no in January, so we're saying no now, unless you've got somebody else who's equally as good or better lined up. If we've got a better option lined up, then put the fingers up to him and say see you later. But if we haven't, then we've got to do what we've got to do, haven't we? Whether that will happen or not, we'll wait and see. And then Conor Coady has been talking about his time at Everton. He said, I loved my time there first and foremost. It's a fantastic club, a brilliant club filled with brilliant people. I loved every single moment of being there. Nice words there for Conor. Obviously, he made this move to Leicester City this transfer window. And wishing him the very best of luck. But yeah, that's pretty much it at the moment. Will Everton sign Wilfried Gnonto? Who knows? We'll wait and see. Will Everton sign Ashley Young? Yes, probably. And if that deal is announced later today, by the way, we will be back with an announcement video for that. As we do with every signing, we'll do an announcement video. So don't forget to look out for that one. I just want to read a comment out that we got earlier before from We Are the Goodison Gang, who said, my nanny died, so I was upset watching for a bit. Cam lad, I do apologise for that. Condolences for your loss. Wishing you and your family, sending you all my love and thoughts in what I'm sure is an extremely difficult time. But yeah, as I said, if you need anything from me, then drop us a message and we'll be sure to talk. Star Wars says, let's get Rodrigo. Honestly, he is what we need right now, someone that can score. Yeah. Josh says, you reckon we get Gnonto over the line? I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure. John says, hopefully Ashley Young has the same impact as Gareth Barry. Let's hope so. Gary says, finally a transfer and a free. At least it's something. He's pretty good. Used to hate playing against them. Well, that's a good sign, isn't it? That we used to hate playing against them. Michael says, would love to get Mohamed Salisu in exchange. Won't happen, but hopeful, thinking, yeah, he'd probably cost a fair bit of money. And the Blues makes a good point. Says, he was good enough to start for Villa ahead of Dean, who were in Europe, so I wouldn't be embarrassed if he starts for us. Yeah, I don't mean it's embarrassing that he would come in and start for us. I mean it's embarrassing that a 38-year-old is deemed a better fullback than the one that we've currently got, who's in his mid-20s and should be at the peak of his career. But that is what it is. It is what it is. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. That would mean a massive amount to me. As I said, we'll be back the minute Ashley Young is confirmed as an Everton player. However, if that isn't done in the next 24 hours, then we'll be back with the latest news and rumours tomorrow. So, big thank you all for watching. If you could leave a like, that would mean a massive amount to me. If you're new as well, don't forget to subscribe. I'm wanting to get to 8,000 subscribers as soon as possible. We're a couple of hundred away, so if you could hit that subscribe button, that would mean a massive amount to me. Don't forget to go and check out vintage football shirts in the comment section down below. In the description down below, and have a look at some of those classic Everton shirts and bits and bobs as well. Some really good stuff there. But yeah, big thanks for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.